Hi, I am doing a presentation this evening and it's going to be about my journey with PTSD, and it's going to be through anecdotes and images. So, yeah, I've actually felt quite nervous about doing this. I don't know why, because every other talk this month has been so exciting and fun. But yeah, and I'm actually quite happy I'm sitting on the sofa tonight. So all the other talks have been, done on another sofa, but this is the PTSD hour place where you normally see me. So I feel a lot more, I feel really comfortable. So hopefully my nervousness and excitement will calm down a bit. But anyway, I've got my green ribbon on, so minty, so it's like a minty green colour for PTSD. And I've got my bow here, or my other ribbon, but my dress has beads on it, so and the material, so we'll put that there, and so that's why I have it on my wrist. Okay, I'm going to start the presentation and take you through some images. Okay, let's do share and begin. I've tried to set it up before, so you just get it like this, but it doesn't work for me. Anyway, so PTSD Awareness Month. I've been joined by guests this month every Friday, so that's been really fun actually. And we've had some great conversations. They're all on YouTube now, so if you would like to go to YouTube and then you can rewatch them. Okay, so PTSD Awareness Month, June. So it's been all month, and then PTSD Awareness Day is the 27th of June. So as I said, I've been joined by different friends, different special guests. And so I've spoken to Sarah Hollibon, she's a British fashion designer. She's based in London, and she's doing some amazing bespoke garments. And it's in the detail, within the detail, there's actually, reference to, if you start looking into it, it opens a whole conversation about different conditions, different social issues. So I absolutely love her work. And then we met Ronald, who's a clinical psychologist and he's a writer. So I really loved how when he writes, he was infusing rap lyrics with theory, because, alone theory is, maybe an acquired taste. But when you give color and, images to that theory through the rap music, it can reach so many people. And, and we were talking about, men's mental health as well as women's mental health, and how everyone needs someone to talk to. And then I spoke to Andy Farr, so he's a visual artist. He's based in Coventry, and that's in the UK, for anyone who's not in the UK. And well, you may have already known, but just in case you're not in the UK and you didn't know Coventry is in the UK. Anyway, so he did an amazing exhibition with all the sitters that he painted, all had their own journey with PTSD and how it affected them and how they processed that experience. So it was really great to see his work. And he also gives an insight to some of his earlier works, which actually looked back at his own memories and experiences. So it's really lovely to have guests and to engage with what they're doing. And I actually spoke for the first week. So I talked about different exercises and stretches that you can do to relieve anxiety in the body and to manage. Well, for me, I talked about tics as well. So I've got tics. So I talked about, how you might manage that as well through weights and different kind of, stretching. And then obviously this evening, I'm taking you through my journey with PTSD. So I'm I'm Katie Marie. I forget to introduce myself quite often, but I'm a lifestyle and fitness coach. and I'm a curator. And so I'm going to kind of tell you a bit more about that journey this evening, because I used to be working in the arts for a long time, and then I developed PTSD. Now I'm a lifestyle and fitness coach. So there's, you know, some things have happened in between. Okay, so I just want to say before I talk about my own experience living with PTSD, so it changes your life. It changes your experience of the environment around you. It changes, you know, your perceptions of your interactions with people. And, you know, there's all sorts of different effects that it can have for you. And for some of us, it's resulted in us having to almost transform our lives. You know, I couldn't rehabilitate to return. I have to rehabilitate and move forward. You know, and that's not the case for everyone. And as I'll explain, I did really, really want to, you know, just get on with what I was doing. But the city became a real issue because of hypersensitivity. So PTSD is real. Okay, so I just mentioned hypersensitivity. That's, you know, messages from our brain, you know, our perception of fear trigger the body to react, you know, and change, protect. You know, breathing changes, everything changes, and it's these messages between the body and the brain, you know, which is triggering some of our behaviors. That for me, the tics, they're very, you know, they're very persistent when I'm in a state of high anxiety or when I'm in panic. With PTSD, certainly in the first year and a half, that was every day. It was chronic for me. But, you know, we're a bit further down the line now. You know, it's been about 2.5 years, coming up to 3 years since my diagnosis, and things have changed. So I think, you know, I'll probably illustrate that through, you know, what I'm talking about. Okay, but I just want to say it is real. You know, I wouldn't have walked away from my profession, which I loved, if it was just, you know, and this thing that I would, you know, it's it's not something that, you know, we should ignore or we should take lightly. It's something that we should give the respect that it deserves, you know, in terms of trying to process this, you know, process what we've been through. It's not your fault. It comes from a place of trauma. So it's not your fault. It's not you didn't do anything. You were exposed to this. And 1 in 4 people who experience trauma go on to develop PTSD. So, you know, I'm not big on statistics myself. That's the only one I'm going to use. And to be honest, you know, what I think is important is when people go through really difficult situations, horrible experiences, bereavements, you know, we need to keep an eye on them. You know, just check in. Are you all right? You know, and you may not hear from them sometimes. They may not feel comfortable sending a text or an email, but I'm sure they'll see that you have, and that means something to them. I think really we do need to just, you know, you just look out for each other. You know, so if you know someone who's been through something, and especially if it's quite fresh for them, and they say, you know, oh, I'm okay, I just want to be left alone, check in again soon, you know, and just monitor the situation, just see how they react and how they kind of, you know, how it develops. And for me, obviously, you know, I developed PTSD and I was in this stuck position, and you know, and it wasn't just that. There was, you know, obviously lots of panic attacks and things like that. So it was quite apparent, definitely to me and definitely to people around me. So but you know, someone else might not be as vocal as me, or as, you know, I do kind of act out my experiences a lot. So if you ask me, you know, someone said to me, oh, you do a lot of hand gestures, that's really nice, keep it up. And I was like, this is me illustrating my experience. I'm not thinking about it. It's, you know, anyway, but it's really nice that they said that, because in the past, before this happened, I was very, very reluctant to speak publicly, which was challenging in the art world. And but I avoided it as much as possible. I was a behind the scenes person. And so yeah, like most people, I probably would have been a bit more, where people hold their hands together and talk. But because I'm talking now not about an object or a sculpture, but I'm talking about my experience, these, anyway. Okay, so this is actually the cover for my blog for this month. So I write a blog for All Silver Clouds, and I'm looking to have 2 ready for the last day of June. But this one will certainly be, this is one I'm excited to write, because I say excited, it was challenging as well, but I wanted to write about this because hypersensitivity is the thing that made the city become problematic for me. So as you can see there, there's a skyline, in the background, and I've actually added to it the London skyline as I used to know it, as I used to work, as it's kind of like a timeline of my career, except for a few hops over to Mayfair. So yeah, so if we start on the right, that's Battersea Power Station, and they hold art events and various things there. And so, I really enjoyed. Also, for me, that was all the signal. So I went to university outside of London, and I used to get the train back to London. And the way I knew that I was in London, the first thing I'd see would be the Battersea Power Station, the legs of the we call it the upside down table, and or like, and so those were the legs, and so I knew I was in London, which is quite a nice feeling. Next door there we've got Tate Britain. So this is obviously a flattened version. This is my skyline of London, but actually Tate Britain would be so Tate Britain's on this side of the river. Next to it, you've got like the London Eye, which would be on that side of the river. So I've just kind of flattened it for my journey. But yeah, so Tate Modern, I worked at Tate Modern, that's in the centre. And I used to take the boat, or we all did, take the boat between Tate Modern and Tate Britain for meetings and events. And so, I had to take a tube into the city, which is very stressful. But I would then take the boat between the galleries, and that was really relaxing. And we used to go in the afternoon, so there wouldn't be lots of people around, and just kind of look at the water. For me, it was relaxing. I know some people took the tube because of the motion of the river. I found it relaxing, and just looking at all the buildings. So we've got, yes, for the London Eye, Big Ben. Big Ben would be on the other side. We've got Tate Modern, which is there in the centre. Then Tate Modern has the Millennium Bridge. And so I've got St Paul's next door to Tate Modern there, but it would actually be directly opposite over here, at the other side of the bridge. And then we've got the Gherkin, which is on the same side as St Paul's. And then I've got the Shard there. And that's at London Bridge. So I used to get the tube to the Shard. And then we have a white cube there. So that's the white cube, that's my representation of the white cube gallery. And so I worked at Tate Modern for 6.5 years. Then I worked at White Cube for 4 years. And that's Tower Bridge there at the end. So I used to go for lunch and I'd see Tower Bridge. And I absolutely loved being there and working there, and loved Tate Modern, Tate Britain, even though I was at Tate Modern. I was based at Tate Modern, but I worked for Tate, so, and White Cube. White Cube was one of probably, like, it was one of the jobs that really fulfilled everything I wanted. And I was working with artist studios, and I was directly in contact with them and handling their artwork, shipping it, installing exhibitions, working with technicians, working with all sorts of people, working with curators, registrars, artist liaisons, so many different people that make up the galleries. You have the what do I want to say? So I worked at another gallery as well called Listen Gallery, but that's not actually on here. It's not on the Skyline, but I did really enjoy that gallery as well. But yeah, so when I developed PTSD, I just couldn't navigate the city anymore, not in the same way. So I used to, or you could take a plane and I had to go to exhibitions internationally and go for research and all sorts of things. You can see there's a London bus there. I wasn't big on buses, I'll be honest, but I jumped in a London taxi. I got on the tube, which I always found the tube quite challenging, and the trains, mainly because they're very packed and very hot. And and I will say this of the overground train in which I used to take, which I'm glad not to, it was always cancelled, and then the next one was delayed, and then it was cancelled. And you see horrendous scenes of people just packed, the platform just packed, and other people are just like pushing you on, and it's like, no, it's hot. I've watched people like get heat, get faint on the train. I've been faint on the train before and nearly collapsed and had to say I need to get out because I couldn't breathe. And it was just so hot. And yeah, so it's, once you've got hypersensitivity, how do you negotiate that? I can't have people touching me, can't have people coming up behind me, and all sorts of stuff. The light, sensitive to light. I remember the first day I went back. So when I developed PTSD, I had to take time out from White Cube. My colleagues said, I think you need time out, and because it's serious what had happened, and it's a thing that happened, it was an event, let's say. So they were like, no, you need to process this, like get signed off work, and they were right in that sense. And then I came back and I tried so hard, but I literally felt like two Polaroid pictures. I was literally like the old picture which they'd remember, where I was like, hey guys, morning, loving my job. And then the one when I came back where I'm like, I was creeping along the walls, I was like hanging onto the walls, always had to have my sunglasses in the office because of the lights. I couldn't sit with lots of people in a room. I went to a nice little office with one of my colleagues who she's a super relaxing, calm influence. And so, and even in there I was a bit jumpy, but with lots of people and lots of things going on, it was too much. And then unfortunately somebody, a job came up, and it was a senior position, and the person actually kind of waved the title at me and stuff, and I was just like, you know what, maybe I need a fresh start, maybe that's what it is. I'm doing really well with my diet. I haven't been diagnosed yet, but I knew I had PTSD at that point. I knew because I was in a swimming pool, and I had a panic attack, and it happened a few times. But when it happened, it wasn't like I was in a swimming pool. And I'm not going to go into it, but let's just say I knew it wasn't right. And I'd seen this lady on TV, and she was actually in the army, and she'd lost a leg at war, and she was on a survival show. She was doing amazing. What happened is they kind of get delivered onto this island on a boat. So, all the people that are going to survive on the island. So what they had to do, because you get kind of thrown off the boat just before you get to the island, you kind of swim in. You have to take all your survival gear with you, like swim it in. And she actually swam her leg in, like it was kind of metal, her prosthetic, because obviously she was doing survival shows, so she needed, And anyway, she was doing so well. She was the toughest, strongest person in the group. Like seriously, you were like, this woman's going to win it. You know, she's hiking up things, and I say that because we think about people having prosthetics, and actually, you know, it's very challenging to wear them, and to wear them for a long amount of time. You know, you can't wear them for too long, and you know, and you have to look after your well, whatever, you know, it might be your arm, it might be, you know, like the stomp of your leg, you know, you have to be very vigilant. And so her to be putting herself through this was, you know, physically she was a tough like woman. And then there was a thunderstorm and she freaked out, and she was just like, I need to get off, I need to get out of here. And they actually removed her from the island. And what it was is that she had PTSD. And so the thunder was reminding her of things, you know. You know, and for me in that swimming pool, I wasn't in a swimming pool. That was, you know what I mean? And it was just, so that's how I thought, I think that's what's going on. But obviously I thought, how could I have the same thing as this lady? You know, she's been through so much. Maybe you sometimes underestimate what you've been through, but I mean, she's been through, she's seen things. She's also experienced physically as well, you know, a life-changing injury. So I was just like, you know, no way. But I also thought, yeah, that's probably what it is. But I didn't say anything. And then my doctor and my therapist, you know, suggested it a bit later on. And I was like, yeah, I thought so. And that's kind of how it came about, really. So anyway, I went to work at this other place and it was just awful. So in fact, I should just say, so this other place was absolutely awful. It was just, you know, I had a micromanager and he was screaming and shouting at me. And we all know with PTSD, you know, it makes, so, you know, you just can't be, maybe not for everyone, but certainly for me, I can't be around the tension. I can't be around people in their tents when they're shouting, because especially if they're shouting at me, that, you know, then you know, it's different. I might get really angry, but if they're shouting around, the heart goes, the breathing, everything, and it's like, it's such body experience, you know. It's not just like, oh, I don't like it. It's like you go into like am I safe kind of thing. And this man was always screaming and shouting at me, and I was just like, I can't have this. It's a new job, you know, and micromanaging. Like one day, you know, he was always picking on things. But let me give you an example of what kind of things he was picking on. So one day I was working on a Saturday, and yeah, so my job was Monday to Friday. So I was working on a Saturday with him in the gallery. He's not a director. He's not the owner. He's none of that. You know, he was but you wouldn't think otherwise, would you? But well, I'll tell you. So he's like, Katie Marie. And he loved doing that. He'd leave his door open and then he'd just shout our names and we'd just have to get up. You know, I'm senior at this point. I was just like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, what? Anyway, so he's like, Katie Marie, I came in. He was sitting in front of his computer, and he said, what's all this? And I was just like, what? I couldn't see it. And he was like, what's all this email you just sent? And that's the thing, he wanted to be copied into every single movement and word that I spoke, you know. And I was someone who'd been an arts professional for 12 years at this stage, so you know, it's like I hadn't even experienced that as, you know, starting out as an administrator, let alone at this stage in my career. If I can't write an email and I can't talk to a client, you know, then we really do have a problem. How have I coasted for the last 12 years? Anyway, so he's like, what's all this, dear client? I hope you're well. Please may I inform you? And I was like, yeah, I was just writing to a client, you know, this is how I speak to our clients. He said, oh, we're so busy, we haven't got time for this. oh, you know, you're wasting all your time writing all this stuff. You should be doing your work. And the thing is, first of all, I'm not going to lower my standards to someone else. Okay, I'm not going to write to a client and go, arriving Friday, best, Katie, Marie. What's that about? You know, what if I've, you know, no way. You know, I'm not having someone tell me how to write, especially how to write an email. I'm not being funny. You know, anyway, so but the thing is, with all this screaming and shouting, you know, even knowing on the surface, I would just kind of stand there and take it. And sometimes I'd say something back and it would just make him more angry. Sometimes I'd just stand there and then I'd be like, right, okay, yep, and then leave. But what it did to my body is everything like just went into panic. So as soon as I got away, I'd be like, whoa, you know, and you know, I totally put that down to being his own issues and him being a control or having, you know, a power struggle thing going on, and him, you know, not feeling like he's in control unless, you know, he used to say to me, you know, if anyone says anything about anything, come and tell me, you know, come and have a quiet word. It's just like, this is a toxic environment, absolutely toxic. When you've got PTSD and you're very sensitive to people's emotions and your environment, you know, you're very sensitive to this toxicity as well. So you know, we had a conversation one day and he said, right, you know, obviously, you know, it's come to that point, we need to think about your contract, you know, do you want to be here, should we move forward? And I was like, no, I don't. And it literally sent him into a tailspin. He was literally like, you know, he stared at me. I said, no, I don't want to be here, I don't. And my advice to the next person that comes, and I just thought, no. I'll tell you why as well, because when White Cube gave me that time away from work to go through what I was going through, and you know, there was a chance I wouldn't have developed PTSD. I might have come back after that 7 weeks. You know, it was weird because I kept signing off for 2 weeks. I'll just be 2 weeks, and then signed off again for 2 weeks. And then the next time I went, the doctor said, well, I'm just going to sign you off for 3 weeks. In fact, should I just do a whole month? I'm like, no, I need to get back to work. Not because White Cube, well, we're not going to talk about HR, but not because White Cube said anything. And I'd just like to say, people, when I say that, you know, that's nothing that's reflective of one person, you know, and we have to remember that. So just like the gallery I'm talking about now, where I hated it, you know, it was very hard. It wasn't a great environment. I'm not going to say it was, but what I would say is it was this person who was making it hostile and who was, you know, making it a nightmare for me. It wasn't a collective thing, you know, it was this person. So White Cube for me is an amazing experience, absolutely. I really wanted to stay. I was devastated when I left. You know what? When I said I'm leaving, I pressed send, and then I had a panic attack, and I fell against the bookcase, and I had a panic attack because I didn't want to. I didn't want to go, and I was like, what am I doing? But I didn't want to be the one. You know, like, why is she walking around? Not that anyone was, maybe it was just me, but new people who had never met me before were joining the gallery, and I'm walking around in sunglasses and, you know, don't touch me, don't talk to, you know, this girl, she came to say hello to me, she put out her hand, she went, hi, and don't say. I literally just stared at her hand. I must have stared at it for 20 seconds or more before she kind of went, oh, and kind of awkwardly put it away. And I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Like, you know, maybe at the next place, oh, she's a bit quirky, but at least it's not, oh, well, she was all right, and then this happened, and oh, I don't know. It's just too much. But what I want to say is White Cube really supported me and let me have that time, like my manager, my boss, you know, they supported me and they let me have this time away. My colleagues who picked up my work while I was away, they didn't contact me and say, oh, Katie, because they knew I couldn't handle it. I was totally like out of this planet at that point. I wasn't connected with anything. So they really supported me, and I was devastated to leave. And because I'd worked so hard, so when I took that 7 weeks off, I was going to the gym every other day. I was cleaning, I was decluttering, you know, I was trying to do things, you know, just so I had something to do. My mind had some things. I could only do like one activity a day. I'd get exhausted, but I'd do that activity and I'd rest a lot. And I needed to rest a lot because of taking in all this information with hypersensitivity. And I just think, so when I looked at that man and he said, "Are you going to stay? Do you want your job?" And I was like, "No." It's because I'd worked so hard. And he was like beating it out of me. And I thought, it's not happening. This isn't going to happen. So I left. So this is why this image is going to be quite relevant. Because I left and it was a big decision. And, you know, I knew I had to get away from the city for a while. Well, not even that. I needed to get away from him. Anyway, so this is one of my images from last year. So I've got some craft images that I did last year. So these actual pieces, you know, put together. And this year I've done some computer graphics. So I'll show you both. But this really illustrates how I was when I first developed PTSD. You know, all those pieces of the puzzle fell away and I was just left with the red piece, which was, this is me. This is me. I exist. I'm alive. This is me. That's it. You know, the career, obviously had to let go of the career, you know, which also included my plans and my goals, my mental health, you know, didn't have that anymore. You know, people go, "Oh, we've all got mental health." Well, let me tell you something. We've all got mental health and physical health to consider. Everybody should be thinking of their physical and their mental health. But I'll tell you something else. Not everyone's got a mental illness. They really don't, okay? Living with a mental illness is really tough, you know, and look, all those things that fell away. And I tried, you know, no one can say I didn't try to hang on to all those things. You know, I stayed with my partner for the next 8 or 9 months, you know, and he really was so good to me, learning all my tips and everything. It was just too much though. And I needed to work out what was going on, and, you know, I needed to just deal with that, you know. My career, you know, I went back, you know, when I went back to the gallery the first day, I went back, sat down at my desk. I couldn't even type. I didn't know. I was just looking around. I was like, didn't recognize anything. And they actually said, "Right, do you want to go home?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll go home." So the first step of going back to work was just getting in the building and then going back home again. And then the next day, then I had a day off, and the next day I came back and I got in the building for a couple of hours. Not even that, maybe 2 hours this time. Then I had to leave. It was just a process of me just slowly spending a bit more time there and then increasing my hours and increasing what I was doing. And it was just incredible, like how disconnected I was from something that I just did like without even thinking. Money, I mean, I walked away from my career. So people are like, "Oh, you're fine," you know. No, I'm not fine. I walked away from a career with a salary at a senior position to start at the beginning, you know. And the reason why I became a fitness instructor was because exercise has been such a massive part of me being able to have a bit of control and a little bit of management of what's going on for me. I'm not talking about managing my emotions, you know, regulating them and stuff, you know, because that just doesn't happen. I'm talking about trying to expand them a bit. You know, you get a bit of joy, not even joy, but just a break from all the like, oh, you know, with a bit of dancing, a bit of music, a bit of movement, you know. And so when I became a fitness instructor, it was such a hard journey. It was a challenge. I worked so hard to get that certificate. I can't even tell you. And I remember I said to my teacher, who was teaching me, I said to her, I was just in such a state by the end of it all. And I was just like, "Oh, it's just been so hard, and all the travel and all the medication." I couldn't take my medication because then I'd forget my choreography. And then you know, so then, and it's so hard. And I remember saying to her, she goes, "But you'll be all right, you'll get through it." And I said, "I have to remember that I'm doing this because I want to show other people that exercise is so good for PTSD, you know." And I'm not saying it because I read a book. I'm saying it because I use it. And so I put myself through all of that so that I could show other people and be certified to be able to do so, you know. So But you know, it's not like you become certified and then everyone's like, oh, I'll be in your class, I want to be your. No, it doesn't happen like that at all. You put up a website, no one looks at it. You know, you hire a studio, you put out advert flyers, no one comes. That's what it's like starting out again. You know, you put on a workshop online, loads of people book it, no one turns up. Sometimes no one books in and no one turns up. That's how it goes. That's what it's like. So people think, oh yeah, you're no, not all right. It's a hard slog. You know, if I could go back to just, you know, get back on top of my career just where I was at that point in my life, like now, obviously, you know, I actually quite like the idea of doing independent projects, and I do independent art projects at the moment instead of being in a big organization. And you know, I get to kind of put my own kind of voice into it, and you know, whereas it's very much, you know, structured for you in, you know, what you need to do in other places. But let me put it to you like this. There was just no way. I couldn't carry on. But if I could have, do you not think that I would have gone back to my great salary in the city, in a dynamic city, running around with my friends, you know, going to bars and restaurants and meeting people and going to exhibitions? And you think I don't want that? You think I don't want any of my life back? I was getting a house with my partner. You know, do you think I didn't want any of that? This is to the people who say to me, oh, you know, why'd you let it all go? Didn't let it all go. It all, like, literally just social identity, the biggest one, you know, it's the perception of yourself. I would never have done a video before I developed PTSD, or, you know, adult PTSD. You know, so I don't talk about my childhood PTSD so much, but it's there. But you know, adult PTSD. Do you know? Before that, I was like, I knew I could put on a dress, I'd get dressed up, go out. Someone say you look nice, I'd be like, thanks. Now if someone says it, I'm just like, what? You just kind of stare at them blankly. It doesn't mean anything. Nothing means anything. Because what if I start ticking and then they're like, oh, you're not attractive now? It's so, it's nothing to me, like in a lot of ways. You know, I don't, if you said to me, like, okay, this is an interesting one. Someone said to me yesterday, do you define yourself through PTSD? Because I think there's a danger that people do that. And I said, no, I actually don't. I'm glad to have the diagnosis because all of this stuff has been going on for me in the past. Didn't know that I'd had a brush with PTSD when I was younger. So I was the difficult one, the awkward one. Oh, she's always got to be different. You know, I had the things I used to put myself through, and I was just like, why am I like this? Why am I so? Why do other people do things and it's not such a challenge, and for me it's such a major deal? But I did it, and I lived the London life, and I did the city girl thing, and I did all of it. And then I developed PTSD again, and as an adult, it was just so hardcore. And unlike as a child, I had the language to explain it and to know a bit about what was going on. Let me tell you something, through all the stuff that people tell me, oh yeah, quote this one, quote that one. The most useful person, one of the most useful people I spoke to, two, one was my doctor, not I've been very lucky with my doctor. She's my NHS doctor. I've been very lucky. I met someone who signed me off the first time. No. Never want to see her again, ever. Very, didn't know way. But then I said, I can't. So then I was given a new doctor, and she's perfect. And she understands all of these things, and she's very sensitive to it all. So that's been amazing. So she's explained things to me. My therapist is extremely good for me because I can talk. And a big thing I find is that, especially when you want to talk about stuff that's challenging and you're kind of going through all these emotions while you do it, it's very difficult for people. But you know, whereas your therapist will channel a bit more, you know, they're interested, they're listening to what you're saying, they don't cut you off and say, no, that's wrong, no, you know, do you know what I mean? you can express yourself fully. And so that's been really important for me. But the biggest bits of information that helped me was when I spoke to a neurologist. It was when she said to me, oh, your tics and your vibrations in your body with PTSD, absolutely fine. What it is, no, you know, and she's like, don't worry, because everyone else said, why are you taking, why are you touching your face, why are you panic attacking all the time, why is you? And I'm like, I don't know, like I've got an idea, but I don't know everything, you know what I mean? I know that my body's crunching up, like as somebody who does fitness, I know that's not good, and somebody who does public speaking, I know you need to be kind of open and breathing, so I know it's not good. But equally, you know, like, why is it happening? When she's like, well, actually, what happens is when you go through PTSD and your brain signals are not working in the same way. So then when they're sending brain messages down to the body, you know, I'm not going to go into, she said it technically, and I'm scared that once I start talking technical, I'm going to start talking rubbish. So. But all I needed to know from her and what she communicated to me is that the brain was, the signals were, it was different. They weren't communicating the same way. There was, I don't know, I can't remember if it was a blockage or, you know, whatever it was, but it meant I was perceiving, you know, so obviously, you know, I'm seeing and hearing and perceiving through my senses, you know, my nervous system, and then it's telling the brain danger, so then the brain's telling the body take cover, you know. And she explained that to me, you know, from the brain neurological point of view, and then that was like a weight off my shoulders. And then I spoke to another doctor, so I talk about him sometimes. I say Dr. Bercelli, but it might be Berkelli or Berselli. It might be Berselli, you know, because he's not actually, so I always do the Italian whenever I see this a name like this, and they do CH for C's, so I feel awful. I just embellish everything in terms of names, you know. But as I was saying in different, I was talking before, we do that a lot in the art world. You know, you hear people come up with all sorts of versions of names. So I'm not. It's just, you know, it's just I can't remember. He was talking about TRE exercises for trauma recovery and how you do vibrate, and actually he works with the vibrations with certain exercises. So, you know, from meeting these people who have given me these kind of information, then when someone says, why are you taking, why are you vibrating, you know, why are you shaking, why, I'm like, well, actually, let me tell you about my brain, you know. And it's not the same, you know. So when someone said to me, do you kind of live through your diagnosis, because that's not a good thing, I was like, no, not at all. So if we were just meeting, I'd say, hi, I'm Katie Marie. So yeah, if you said, tell me 3 things about you, I'd be like, well, I absolutely love exercise. So I'm a Shaban instructor, Les Mills. I love music, like beats music. So I choreograph to like music, you know, like house and dance and, you know, drum and bass and garage and things like that. And I'm massive on art. So, you know, if I had spoken to you 2 or 3 years ago, I might have said, well, I'm addicted to Paris. So I go to Paris all the time. I love going to Centre Pompidou. I used to work at Centre Pompidou. Is that 3 points? You know, I wouldn't be able to stop talking. But, you know, obviously I can't do all the travel and stuff now. But you know what I mean? So it's not something I tell you as a descriptor about myself. But I do tell you if, for example, a friend was talking and someone I didn't know came in, so they didn't know I didn't say, hi, I'm Katie Marie, I have PTSD. I've never done that, ever. I think the only time I would do that is when I'm doing a PTSD video, you know, because it makes sense, because I need you to know that I've got the condition. And I also need you to know I'm not a doctor and I'm not a therapist and I'm not talking as a professional. I'm a professional fitness instructor and a professional lifestyle coach. But I'm not a professional, you know, a psychologist or from this background. So I would tell you in this kind of video, obviously, because that's what we're talking about. I wouldn't, you know. So I remember the friend of the friend came in and he was talking and he was being quite expressive and he went, like, he went, wow, like that or something. And I went, like that. And he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? And I was like, it's fine, I've got PTSD. And, you know, he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And it was just like this whole thing, you know, it was just like, oh, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, it's okay, I'm fine, I'm fine. And he's like, no, you're not. Because to him, he's like, you're all covered, you're not fine. And I'm like, I'm fine because I know what it is, but you don't know what it is. And so he's now, you know, so I could never tell anyone. And then I start touching my face and they're like, what's that? What's that? Well, when I touch, I do it all the time when I'm out. So when I leave the house, I'm like this a lot. And, you know, when I'm talking to someone outside, I'll be like touching like that. People don't walk around like that, not lots of people. So then people are immediately like, oh God, what's going on here? Well, I can put them at ease and say, don't worry, it's PTSD. I'm aware it's going on. I am uncomfortable, but I'm not uncomfortable. You know, it's not your fault. It's not you. It's me. It's fine. It's me. So when I say I've got PTSD, I'm generally saying it's me. It's not you. It's not what you did. It's fine. You're not acting weird. I've got a disorder. It's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And so I remember a friend said to me as well recently, he said, but if you say you've got this condition, you're never going to get over it. And I'm thinking, there's a chance I won't get over it. There's a strong chance I'm going to have to manage this now, as I have been since I was a child, for the rest of my life. You know, there's a strong chance that, but I'll be managing it in different ways. You know, so this time 2 years ago, I wasn't managing it by making a video. I wouldn't even wear colours. I was always in black because I felt like when I feel like I wear colours, I feel like it's expressing a bit about me, and I didn't feel colourful. So I was like, I can't wear colours. You know, I've just talked anecdotes. I haven't shown you anything. I'm just going to tell you one more thing about colour though. So I wore like a red top, and basically I wore it to work, and I was like, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm ready. And I actually wore like a jumper over it. And I was just getting to work and I would have been on time. But I was like, no, I can't wear this red top. I can't. I'm not red. I'm not ready. I'm not there. So I remember I knew this was going to happen. So I put like a t-shirt in my bag. So I went into the bathroom, put my t-shirt, got this red top off, put my t-shirt on, and then went to the meeting. I was a couple of minutes late. I didn't care because I was like, I can't wear this colour. It's not how I feel. I used to wear red all the time. I think I've worn a red t-shirt, but I still have red dresses, little red tops, all sorts of stuff that I don't wear unless I'm in the mood. So now with PTSD, I've still got quite a muted colour on because the dress is all this colour, but I've got pink and yellow and blue and white and beads. So you know, that's a difference since last year, isn't it? Yeah, you know, things do change and things are changing. Not rapidly enough that I could have stayed in the city. You know, now I've had a break, you know, I can think about projects and stuff, but it's not a fast thing, you know. I've been talking for a while now, so I think what I'll do is to show you a couple of images that because I showed them at the presentation yesterday as well. So I'm doing this presentation. So I've done the presentation 3 times now. And each time I've had different people have come and different kind of responses. So it's been quite interesting because I was only going to do it once. And yeah, so and different things come out of me as well. So I think I'm actually going to put both videos up. I was thinking, oh, I'll just make a choice, but I might just put them both up. We'll see. Anyway, or maybe what I'll do is take the bits that aren't similar, like maybe just, and then you can see, because literally when I talk about my experiences, it comes out in different ways every time. Obviously, it's all the same person, and you know, there's a lot of art references, but yeah, you know, you never know what stories you might, you know, find yourself in. So let's go back and just share this, and I'm just going to literally round it up. I'm not going to do, you know, go through them one by one anymore. We'll just kind of read a few. So let's have a look. So basically, PTSD and lockdown. So I just want to say about that. So stay at home. It went from being my dream to my living nightmare. Go back out. I'm fighting to get back out. I want to. It's tough. So am I. So I just want to say to anyone out there who's been struggling with lockdown, absolutely. I personally was like, great. I can stay at home. We're on Zoom. Everything's sanitized. People aren't allowed to come within 2 meters of me. But then obviously you realize you've lost the human contact. I was making so much of an effort to do so many things, including, you know, I did my fitness exam and everything, taking all the transport. It was terrifying, but I worked so hard. So obviously lockdown at first was like a break from that, but then obviously as it carried on, it was like, no, I worked so hard pushing myself, and now I feel like I'm going backwards. And then all of a sudden it was kind of like, go back out. I'm now fighting to get back out. I'm a tough person. I am. You know, I will do things. If I really want to do something, then what I tend to do is think about the thing I want to do, commit to it, and work out the details afterwards. I'm not like that when it comes to business, but I'm like that when it comes to like me in transport, for example. And people are like, oh, that's really good. But actually, no, it's actually quite, you know, I can't do it every day, you know. And there's certain things I've said I'll do for charities and stuff. And actually, I need to, you say, oh, don't define yourself PTSD, but I need to remember I have it. I need to remember, I need to remember that I need to keep pushing forwards. I also need to respect the fact that changes have happened. And I don't want to put myself in situations that become dangerous because I'm scared and I'm, you know, and someone might say, yeah, but a panic attack, it doesn't last forever. And it's like, it doesn't. But you can actually, if you keep putting yourself in these situations, it can scar you, you know. So like, you know, I was putting myself through the tube in that awful micromanager, and look what happened. I left the city and now I won't go near a tube, you know. And part of that might have been because of just the trauma of the situation. Like post that, you know, that was a traumatizing situation for me, not only in my, like, you know, in this like state. I feel this guy screaming at me and being awful to me, and then I have to end my own career, I have to terminate my career for my own sanity, you know. And so it's not something I can do all the time. But so now obviously, this is what I wanted to avoid, though. I wanted to avoid almost becoming agoraphobic, which is effectively what's kind of happened. You know, I didn't go anywhere. I don't. So it's like, yeah, now I'm fighting to get back out, and it's like I've got to go to a studio. I need to build up fitness classes. I cannot wait to do some live decluttering and organizing projects with people in their homes. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to be able to go to the park and train people. And you know, it is a matter now more of vaccinations and stuff, but then they talk about, you know, other variants, how it's going to, so, you know, people would say, just get back on with it. But actually, as a fitness instructor, going through 3 lockdowns, and as a you know, a lifestyle coach, those lockdowns have basically meant no gym, no going into people's homes, no seeing anyone outside of your family. So it hasn't just meant, oh, you know, it's a little holiday. I'm not getting paid, you know. I'm not getting paid if the business isn't getting paid. I'm not getting out there. I'm not pushing my boundaries. I'm not getting to help anybody else. Then all of a sudden it's like, and you say, I'll just go back. And it's like, yeah, but I went back after the second lockdown. First lockdown. I went back after the second lockdown. Then the third one came. And in actual fact, we didn't get to fully go back. So for us, it's been like this massive, stressful, what's going on. So the threat of another one could, and you know what I mean? So it's not just this reluctance or a laziness. It's actually, if it happens again, I don't know what I would do, you know. And it's, anyway. So, but as it has always been, let's keep going on, you know. therapy was absolutely essential for me. And what I want to say as well is I've had the same therapist for 3 years. I don't jump about. It's same one. She knows everything. For me, and I think this is important for people with PTSD, you need continuity. You don't want to constantly have to start at the beginning. This is what happened to me. This is how it felt. This is what I saw. No, you don't. With my therapist, because I've been seeing her all this time, I can just go, I can start talking about something and she'll remember. She might not remember every detail, but she'll remember sections of it. So she doesn't have to go, oh, what are you talking about? Oh, can you tell me all over again? And I think that's so important. I see the same doctor. You know, she knows exactly what's going on with my medication. She can see when I've taken it, not physically, but she can see when I've picked it up. So she knows if I'm picking it up and if I'm, you know, and how frequently. And, you know, it's important for me to go and talk to her. I don't need to say to her, I've been through this, I've got this diagnosis, or she doesn't have to sit there and go, let me read your notes. That she remembers, and she remembers because she doesn't see me as much as my therapist. So obviously my therapist, she's had 3 years worth of every Tuesday for 50 minutes, me talking. So I don't know how they retain the information, but they do. It's quite crazy in a great way. I do. God. I don't know why. It was like in a nice way, and then I took in some air and I started coughing. Okay, so and also our healthy coping mechanisms are really strained, you know. You know, for me, I used to be in a gym, and now after not working for a year, I've cancelled my gym membership because I'm like, you know, I mean, not being able to go out and like, you know, I've only been working online, so I'm like, well, I can't afford to be giving you my money. You're gonna have to pay me to do some classes. So, you know, and that's a consequence of lockdown. Funds weren't gonna, you know, funds depleted. So, you know, but I kept going. I did my Les Mills, that kept me going. Let's quickly go through it now. So I rediscovered my with PTSD, my creativity. So yeah, I feel like an absolute blockage that was in my head and missed kind of as soon as I was exposed to trauma again, just went. So PTSD has actually meant that when I think something, I say it. I'm not nervous. I'm not thinking, what are they going to think? People would say, oh, you found your confidence. No, it's nothing to do with confidence. People used to say to me, oh, you need to find your confidence. No. I wasn't looking for confidence. It's the fragments and the way I remembered things. Now, because I can understand it, because of that diagnosis, my diagnosis means that I can make sense of so much stuff. So I don't think, people say, oh, don't go. I don't go on about it, believe me. But me personally, that's what I take from it. That diagnosis has allowed me to look into all these different symptoms and things that have gone on with me and go, yeah, that's what that is. Totally, I feel that. Oh, I'm not a weirdo like these people call me. This is what's going on. It's made a lot of sense. And there's been mornings I've woken up and I've gone, I haven't got PTSD anymore. It's gone. And then I've got up and about 20 minutes later, someone slammed the door and I'm like, no. And I'm like, no, it's not gone. So I'm not one of these people that I actually, literally, that was my, I went, it's gone. I haven't got it anymore. It's gone. And it's just because I obviously woke up that morning, it was quite peaceful. Whereas normally I wake up to like builders or something, and something disturbs me, which will get me up. Because when I start having nightmares, and then that wakes me up because the sounds and my brain starts relating these images. Anyway, which is what happened when someone banged a door. So bang, no, don't say that. Anyway, so the point is, when I thought it was gone, I had a smile all over my face. I was really like, oh, it's gone. I was confused as well. I was like, that's weird, because I was used to having it. So I was like, it's weird, it's gone, but it's gone. And then I was reminded about 20 minutes later, no, it's not gone. And then the rest of the day I was reminded it's not gone. And it's that hypersensitivity has been a massive thing. And I don't care what anyone says. If you've got hypersensitivity, right, well, you just have to do your best to like work with it and, like make yourself feel comfortable. and it's a physical thing. Hypersensitivity is physical, you know. It may be mental as well, because you're having, the connections and making it more extreme, but it's still, my body still makes those movements and ticks and vibrations and involuntary things, and that is, anyway, so I got really creative, and my mind just got really clear. So I just say what I think, I do what I think, I stand by what I say, and that's how it is, you know what I mean? And I just have to get on with it, and I can't have people screaming and shouting at me and telling me how to write and what to do. And I've got enough going on that I can do it myself, thanks. Love doing projects and collaborations with people. That's what really works for me. And being creative with another person and both bringing things together, like with my talks. I've loved it. I've absolutely loved doing that. It's really been amazing. And see, we're talking about PTSD, but are we sitting there going, oh, no, we're not. We're going, you know what? It's a wild experience, and these are some of the things that have happened, and this is how we processed it. And none of us are sitting there going like, oh, I've got a diagnosis and it's limited my life and I can't do anything, at all. We're not saying that at all, which is the stigma that you get when you from people socially. And equally, we're not sitting there like well, obviously one with psychologists, but even when I was talking to Ronald, he wasn't psychoanalyzing me, we were having a chat. You know what I mean? And then he said to me, let's do a demonstration on CBT. And even if we weren't doing a demo, you can tell me a story. And if something fell out of a cupboard, I react to it. It just is what it is. But, if we were just having a chat, and that was really nice. But sometimes people who are professionals try and psychoanalyze you and say, and I'm like, no, I've got a therapist, thanks. I'm fine. I'm all right. I don't need 2 or 3 of them. And so yeah, I think in that sense, I don't know, I'm very expressive and I'm loving my writing. And in the past, where I was like, oh, I don't have time, now it's like I start writing and I don't stop unless like something happens that makes me stop. So this is what I did this year. So PTSD and hyper. I use the sensitivity part to describe my world in art, calligraphy, film and poetry. So if you have a look on All Silver Cloud's website or any of our socials, you'll either see me talking about it, you might see pictures of my calligraphy. And I don't put anything fancy out, I'm not doing it as a profession. I mean, I can teach people how to train people to do like, kind of beginners calligraphy and things like that, but I'm certainly not a copper plate expert or anything like that. I just put a bit of script out and show you guys sometimes. I put out videos, I write poetry. I can just literally, like as a child, I could write poetry just like that, and then I'd illustrate it and everything. And then something happened, which I now kind of am having an understanding about with like PTSD, but I went through many years of then having this misty head and not being so confident about just putting my stuff out there. And then what happened was I got PTSD again. And it's just literally everything's so clear to me again. Write a poem, fine. What should I write about? The green ribbon. Okay, no problem. Give it to you in 5 minutes. Or if I want to do something lengthy and more ornate, or develop something a bit more complex, I'll come back to you in a couple of days. And it's almost like being a child again, because it's almost like I don't look at it as I've been so wrapped up in the professional world so long with like, what do people think? What are they going to say? They're going to think you're rubbish at it. They're going to, it's nothing like that for me now. Now I'm more like the child who's like, oh, I enjoy playing with paints. I enjoy doing this, but I'm an adult, so I can be more structured about it and a bit more, organized with it. Whereas as a child, you're a bit, it's totally expressive. And as you get older, well, as a child, but as you get older as a child, you might you start learning technique and how to refine what you're doing. And anyway, PTSD is black and silver to me, from dark moments through sparkling joyous ones. Okay, so I'm not going to go for too long here. I'm just going to say, so the dark moments, we all know, trauma cycles, panic attacks. things like that, and then into sparkling, joyous ones. Also dark moments, moments of rage. So these are emotions like rage that I gained the extension of my emotional range through PTSD. But at the same time, I'm also ridiculously excitable. So just for example, dancing to music. Again, I'm not. I am a cardio dance person. I am not. I haven't been a ballerina since I was very young. So I did all my kind of formal stuff as a child. Never ever did it at competition level. Never did it as a a real discipline. It was always as a young person. Probably more like other people do sport. So it's kind of like that. But I can tell now with PTSD, just put on the music and just start dancing to it, and that's body opens up, head is somewhere different, and those are like really joyous moments. Like they're so pure, So that's why for me it's not all dark, and also some of that black stuff that I'm not aware of yet. You know what I mean? So things have come to light for me in the last couple of years, but certain fragments have I can make sense of a bit more. And also certain fragments I'm looking at as an adult now. But there's still some dark patches which are unexplored and which are quite sensitive to touch. So sometimes you don't even realize, and some touches it and it just comes out. Laughter lady, the yoga lady. This is not ideal if you've just developed PTSD, but if you've, because you don't really feel like laughing, smiling, or anything. Like seriously, I didn't move my face apart from I was very, very, very disassociated. However, when you start to open up your range of emotion again a bit, through exercise and different things, laughter yoga might be kind of interesting. Now, you don't have to frame it as yoga. I mean, I've actually seen people doing what do you call it? I mean, there's laughter theory. I had the opportunity to study at university, but I didn't. Chose libertine literature, which is funny in itself. Anyway, the point is, this is Gita, and she has Parkinson's disease. And obviously that's very challenging, and so the way she's dealing with it, she's sitting in a group here, she's going to say what so this is what happens. She says, "Hi, my name's Gita and I have Parkinson's disease." Very good, very good. And everyone in the room goes, "Very good." And what it is it's just she's kind of trying to take her condition away from her a little bit, I suppose, and kind of just instead of kind of looking at this wholly negative experience, I suppose she's trying to separate herself a bit so that she can regain that emotion, she can express herself in that way again. And I think she's also changing her physiology, so it's changing her brain chemistry, laughing, and you know what I mean? It's a bit like me dancing to music. It's changing my physiology, it's changing my psychology at the same time. They say it's very hard to be depressed when you're jumping up and down. It is. Thing is though, PTSD is very real, so stop jumping up and down, and then it'll come to you afterwards. So, there's all of these techniques and exercise, yoga, decluttering, they're not quick fixes. They're things to give you a break, to give you a different perspective, and to let you have something else to focus on. But they're not, over time you slow down, and over time these things are more and more effective. I've been talking so long. Okay, so anyway, so that's just a form. I used to say, "Oh yeah, really?" So I was actually talking to my brother, and I said, "Oh, okay, let's have a go." "Oh, my name's Katie Marie. I've got PTSD. It turned my life upside down."
And then I actually start naturally laughing. Like, this is genuine. You kind of crack, because I'm not like, when I was repeating hers, I wasn't feeling it, it's not my thing. When I was saying it myself, I'm like, ha 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 ha, ha. You kind of find it in yourself, you know what I mean? And it's very good. So I think you have to laugh at yourself a bit with PTSD. Sometimes it's funny, you know what I mean? I'll jump and then I realize it's just a teddy bear sitting there, and I'm like, oh yeah, oh, it's horrible, it's hyper alert, blah blah blah. But on the other hand, it's like, oh, it's only a teddy. That's quite nice. You know what I mean? Or it's just anything. See something go past, I'm like, and I'm like, oh, and it's something nice, it's butterfly or whatever. It wasn't, but obviously because of the motion, I'm on alert straight away. What's going on? And then I find out, and it can be kind of amusing to me anyway, what I do, because I never used to be like that. So it's kind of like, it's so random. Okay, let's go through. So I've got my survival kit, and it's still the same as it was last year. I was doing my lifestyle and fitness online. So I was doing fitness at my studio, and then I started having to do it online because of lockdown. I just have fun with it. So I'm talking here, I'm not even talking about do an exercise move. I'm talking about how to, don't forget to change your trainers and have a pair of trainers for the garden so you can do your exercise to music. That's all I'm saying. And I say, look, it's wonderful for your body and mind. Enjoy the sounds of the birds and the clouds floating by. You know, that's my vibe. And I love showing nature, and I love, like, a lot of things around. A lot of my pictures, a lot of my videos have got nature in them, because it's a real leveler for me, brings me back down to earth, so to speak. You feel safe on the earth. If you go and sit on the grass, you're not going to fall any further, are you? And this is my advice as well. If you're having a panic attack, I personally get up against the wall and then I will get down to seated position. So I let myself kind of slump down the wall, onto the floor, because your breathing's already shallow, and you're standing up and using energy for this, and you could fall over, you could get dizzy. Whereas if you're having a panic attack and you just go to the floor and go through what you need to go through, you're not going to fall over. And I think that the ground is very comforting, and I also feel the same about trees. So they don't move, like, obviously, the leaves move in the wind. Even that's gentle, it's not, a lot of movement. So I find that's very calming. Okay. Yeah, so I was online, had to move, so it's like big class into online. And I did it, but it's just very difficult and very hard to get noticed. Making changes that work for you. So just quickly remove stress as much as possible, connect with nature. Breathing is essential. So, with panic attacks, you're kind of at a position there where you kind of need to go through it. So just get on the floor, and just kind of tunnel into yourself. Nothing else is important. Just, it's about you regaining your feeling of safety. But if you have anxiety, there are things you can do. So deep breathing, do a few stretches, stretch out here, do a few squats, and that will actually really help you with anxiety. Take each day at a time. I still do take each day at a time. I can't imagine a year's time. I can't. I love doing projects and things that are kind of like 3 months, 6 months, 1 month. Because then you can kind of say, right, so I'm going to commit and I'm going to go full on, and I'm going to have a little break, then I'm going to do the next one. Whereas, the idea of being permanent, working for someone, for me is absolutely terrifying, because I just couldn't. I don't even, people say to me, well, just because you go permanent, you might only work there for a year or whatever. And it's like, no, I can't. No, and I'm not that kind of person as well. If someone gives me a permanent contract and I take that permanent contract, it's because I really love the place and I want to be there and I want to stay there. I don't want to be sitting there going, well, actually, I might have to turn around and surprise them in a couple of months and say, no, I'm leaving, and then go through all that. No, it doesn't work for me. So, but for other people, knowing that it's permanent, certainly me before this happened, knowing my job was permanent was so essential. So I knew where I was going, I knew where I was going to be, I knew I was salaried, you know, and all that kind of stuff. It's very felt very secure. Whereas, you know, obviously now I'm in kind of off in the fields doing my own thing, you know. But that's what I need to manage my PTSD. I need that freedom to know that I can choose what I need to do, and I can remove myself from situations, and I'm in control. And that if someone came screaming and shouting at me, obviously if it's a client, that's, you know, we're going to talk about it. But you know, if it's a potential supplier or someone who wants to collaborate with me, can get lost. Let's say, and I can say that I don't have to go, oh, Mr. or Mrs. Boss, and someone's being mean. Can we have a diplomatic meeting? I'll be like, right, I'm the boss. I'm not working with you, so let's call it a day. You know, and I need that. I need that. Obviously, working on projects with other people. So if I was creating in someone's gallery, I don't need that. I really don't. You know, but when I was working in the commercial world, there was a lot of screaming and shouting, and a lot of people who brought their stresses onto other people. And you know, you're always like, well, if I say something and cause trouble, you know, what if I lose my job and all this stuff? You know, for me now, I work with people because I'm right for them and they're right for me. You know, and that's the prerogative of the director. So that's always the case. Anyway, my mantra was, you will be okay. And I will always say that to myself in the most stressful of times. If someone else said it to me, I'm like, leave me alone. If I say it to myself, it really means something. Well, my therapist says it to me, and I'm like, okay. But she kind of told me to say it to myself. She goes, you know, just tell yourself, get a mantra, like just tell yourself it'll be all right. So I was like, okay, it'll be okay. And she said, get yourself a mantra. So isn't it that she said, I'm giving you these words? But I literally, at the beginning of PTSD, I wrote it down on a piece of paper because I was scared I'd forget. Anyway, okay, and PTSD was just the beginning. It's not the middle or the end. I just want to reiterate that. So it's been the beginning of so many things for me, but it's certainly not been the end of anything. You know, you could say, oh, it was the end of your career, but no, my career's taken a different turn. And you know what? I absolutely love curating. And now my brain is absolutely fully engaged again, you know, post-trauma. And I'm confident, if that's what some people want to call it, but I just literally say and do what I think, and not in an aggressive way, it doesn't all just come out in a big old mess. But what I mean is, I wouldn't sit there going, oh, I kind of want to suggest, but maybe not. No, I'd just go, all right, this is what I think. And if someone says no, I'll be like, okay, next. You know, I wouldn't get upset about it. Whereas before I'd been like, oh, I'm not good enough. You know, and I don't call that confidence. I actually feel like I got to sweep out basically all those things you're told to feel guilty about, all those social things is just gone. Just talk to people as people, and that's that really. So you know, you could say it's the end of my career, but it hasn't been, because my career has progressed in other ways, you know. And I used to work in interior design, so the fact that I'm now a lifestyle coach in decluttering and organizing, you know, that's a strand that I've been able to pick back up, which I really enjoyed. And then in terms of art, you could say, oh well, you've had to put an end to that, but no, because I'll do curating projects with people, and 3-month project here, 6-month project there, collaborations. So it hasn't been the end. It's been, I've just had to adapt, and I've had to change, and I've had to make it work for me. And I think a lot of the time in life, when the people who sit there and say, I made it work for me, and now I'm earning money and I've got my, you know, my life is what I want, and they're sitting on a beach telling you, and you're just like, this is a load of rubbish. It's not actually a load of rubbish. You know, there's nothing stopping me right now. Well, there is, because it's dark outside, but I could go and sit outside in front of a bunch of flowers and do this talk for you. It won't make any difference. I don't need to sit in an office, or I don't have to be in an auditorium. And equally, I don't need any props, but you know, I've got my PowerPoint on the computer. I don't even need it. It's just, you know, something for you guys to look at other than me, you know. And it's kind of like, yeah, it's just simplified everything for me. I don't feel guilty about all these things that people try and make you feel guilty about. I can spot a manipulator so fast. I'm not to say I wouldn't get manipulated by someone, because obviously then you've got other feelings, don't you, and make you vulnerable. But I'm very, I feel it. I feel it. To be honest, I feel it so much that I kind of repel people like that. I just can't help it, because I can't. When you say, like, someone asks you a question, you say, "Oh, I'm not going to answer that," and they go, "Oh, you're obviously not going to answer it for this reason." I'm just like, why are you trying to manipulate me and put words into my mouth? I told you I didn't want to answer it. That's your answer. Don't tell me what I think. Don't tell me what I meant. Don't tell me, you haven't got a clue. So trying to, and people who try to manipulate you as well. Are you going to do this project? Well, no, I'm not going to do this project for this reason. Well, I thought you had more integrity than that, and I thought, you were more passionate, and obviously a much more spirited person. And it's like, no, you're just trying to manipulate me to do this project because it would be useful for you, but it's not good for me. No, I'm just being honest, and you don't like my honesty because it's not what you want to hear. You just want to hear what you want to hear and have it your way, and that doesn't work. So the only thing that's come to an end, I suppose, is people trying to, if people are trying to be manipulative with me or trying to coerce me into things, I can sense it a mile off. And if someone was sitting there now going, well, I'm quite manipulative, and I've had, I've tricked you into something, then I'd say, well, then you should feel ashamed of yourself, because I obviously felt like actually quite close to you, and I trusted you, and I shouldn't have. But to be fair, my spidey senses go off really. Oh yeah, if I don't like the feeling of someone or a gallery, if it feels like toxic, it literally makes me feel toxic inside. I felt my veins had like this toxic liquid in it when I was working there. And with PTSD, that's not just some kind of analogy. You actually visualize that that's what it is. It's very intense. So you can't be putting yourself in situations like that. No, not at all. You need to look after yourself. But I appreciate, I've said money for me is, I had to let it all go, and not be defined by how much I earn or anything else. So I would never tell someone with PTSD to quit their job and have no savings and no money. I happen to have some savings, and I was going to be moving in with my partner, and I decided that I was going to spend those savings on me, and taking myself out of this very stressful environment and trying to, rehabilitate. So that's kind of my story. And yeah. All right, well, I think we'll end it there. I'd just like to say as well, we've got some charities that I and support, which I'm quite familiar with, so I'm happy to mention them here. So we've got the NHS in the UK, and they've got a mental health section. It tells you different places you can contact. Obviously, you can also turn up at a hospital if you feel that you need to, because for UK residents, the NHS we have, and so it's there for you. If you need to go to a hospital, go to a hospital. Samaritans. So with these guys, so with your therapist, you see them every week, same time, same day. It's your routine. So with the Samaritans, it's more a case of, if you really need to talk right now, just phone them. You don't have to book an appointment. You don't have to wait. Just phone them. So I've put their contact page on there because sometimes people want to just put in Samaritans, or you don't even need to do that. You could just literally type in, just type their name, Samaritans, into Google, and they'll come up. The phone number will come up, or you can go onto the website and see the different ways they can help you. PTSD UK, and you've got PTSD in the US as well, but I can't remember what they're called. I think because they're PTSD Awareness on their socials, so that's how I know them. But I think but they're based in the US. PTSD UK is based in the UK, and there's resources for everyone though. So you can always have a look on there, and they put out regular posts and such forth, and Instagram, Facebook. And so that's quite nice if you've got PTSD. So do a bit of reading, connect with a few people who've got the condition. We've got Mind UK. again, they can direct you to support. Then same with Mental Health Foundation and Rethink Mental Illness. Now with these three charities, they actually also put a lot of videos by people with lived experience talking about what it's like. So that can be a real comfort for you. If you've been diagnosed with a condition, you can then go in and see other people who have been diagnosed and just listen to their story. Might be quite interesting. Also, it can be quite isolating having a mental illness. So to just know that, you're not a weirdo, you're not a freak, you're not like, you're a bit crazy, but in a nice way, you're not someone that people should turn their back on. You're actually someone who is you need to be supported by your community. And so this is, with the charities, it's kind of bringing a community of people together. Some people will be professionals, but a lot of people are lived experience, and they might have had, been living with something for 10 years, or they might have just got diagnosed. So, it's a mixture there. And then, so yeah, I just want you to know that that's there. And in the US, you've also got, different groups as well. So which would be the equivalent. And I know you guys are amazing with awareness from my experience. So yeah, I mean, there's so much going on. So anyway, that's it really. Is my details. Come join me on social, join our Facebook group, PTSD Our Place. And yeah, I hope to see you soon. All right, so let me stop this actually and I'll say goodbye properly. All right, so it's been lovely talking to you, and yeah, please do get in touch. Get in touch with me via my website, via any of my socials. I love connecting with people. And when it comes to PTSD, people say, why are you doing this? Why are you doing these events? Because I have the condition, so I want to talk about it. This isn't, I'm talking about it from lived experience. So, this isn't me as a professional now. This is me as someone who goes through this too. So, okay, I'll speak to you soon, and green ribbon.